All right, guys. Gonna wait a moment until Dougie gets in here. Dougie. Waiting on Doug to get in here, geesh. Let's turn this down. Let's see. Whenever you're ready, Dougie. Just waiting to come in, guys. I don't know. There doesn't seem like there's much action going. There's Doug.
You had me stuck backstage.
Just popped up.
That's all right.
How you doing, brother?
Now, I'm not going to be able to read any of the chat, I don't believe.
Yeah, that's well, actually you should be able to. I don't know. Guys, we got Doug on the panel tonight. We're going to be talking about all the hate in the world. Right, Doug? Oh, did we lose Doug?
There we are.
Okay.
I'm here.
All right. You're here. You made it. We are going to talk about all the hate in the world for a little bit, aren't we?
Hey, Jules, what's going on? Yeah, we're going to talk about love, hate. I'd like to talk about, not retractions, but a method of getting people to either, show their colors or show their anger through, making a narrative. And last night on a channel, I made a narrative, and I kept changing it around because it seems like everything in this community going on right now with Orson West, people are jumping ship back and forth. They'll post a video and then take it down and make it, look like they didn't post it. And then,
Right.
People kind of change their personal channel. And I'm not talking about our
Sure.
YouTube channels. I'm talking about their channels of the way of they normally think or normally are. And people get really angry, but it's funny how it's just funny how people can just pass a judgment and just be like, this is what you said last night, and now you're not saying it, or whatever it is. And it was a good test. It was a good exercise. Like we've been talking about different exercises and different ways of getting people to think through a narrative as opposed to attached to a narrative. What's going on, Small Fries? Are you there, Benny?
I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I was like, did we lose the host?
No, I'm here. Hold on. Can you hear me? This thing's tripping. Yeah, what happens, guys, when you become attached to a narrative is that no matter what changes or transpires in the case, you have a hard time catching up and staying with the actual factual stuff that's available. So, we would like for folks to try to, hang in the stratosphere with us and don't get too carried away, but that's hard sometimes.
No, Purple Knights. It wasn't because of you. Sorry, this is not it's not anything that has to do with you. It has to do with people like you.
Yeah, Purple. We don't. I talked to Purple, and Purple. Hopefully we can just move forward and not get stuck up on something in the past, and moving forward, guys. But
it makes for good conversation, and it makes for a good if the people were asking for drama, and I talked to Angie before that and after that as well, and we had a nice long talk today, and it's just people were thinking that there's so many cohesive people that are joined up together to try to instill hate or instill improper narrative. But what that exercise was last night was to get people to stop pointing a finger.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't hear what you just said. I was listening again.
Oh, I was saying, trying to get people to think,
Yeah, because it seems like everybody just goes with the one thing, and then no matter what, it's you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And that was just proof of it. It's just people are gonna either like you or hate you, and if they like you at first, and then you do one thing that'll change the way they think, then all of a sudden they just hate such a strong word, and that's what they look at, and then they're in your every stream, or they're just around just trying to be heard. And I feel bad for these people, because a lot of these people are just miserable people with their lives and don't have anything better to do. Probably have carpal tunnel from typing on their keyboards all day long, because that's all they have time to do, instead of something for the better, or leave free thinking available. And apparently some people just go with that one narrative, and then it's over. It's gung ho all the way through. Just like with the West case and with the West, it's, again, we all have our different opinions of it, and a statement is a lot different than an opinion. Like, you would start off an opinion with "my opinion is," as opposed to "they're guilty." That's a statement. It's not your opinion. What you're doing is you're pointing a finger, like, no matter, like, and you just don't. None of us know. And it was just one of those things where you'll get a few, some will, some won't, and so what? You move on, but some can't move on. See, like Purple Knights still needs to be heard. You need a hug, Purple Knights?
Yeah, there is, you guys, just a lot of, there's just a lot of irritation and friction, and let me just kick it real, guys. I'm an alpha guy, like so many people are. Doug is, and I don't want to speak for Doug. Maybe he's a beta. No, I'm just kidding, Doug. Doug is an alpha guy, and so when you come on YouTube, guys, it's distorted, right? So it's like there's the portal to jump into YouTube, and before you go out of the real world into the YouTube, you got to kind of twist your integrities and your morals and your ethics to people on YouTube, and
you don't know even who you don't even know who you're looking at. I'm sorry, I got a lag, bro.
No, I'm sorry. It's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's one thing when the platforms are misdirecting and misleading and dissuading the community and the public and the helpers and everything. But it's another thing when the followers are in collusion with this. It's just, it's such a hard thing to get away from, guys. And so back to me being an alpha guy, because I'm an alpha guy, there's only so much I can let of the fuckery into my life, or I have to. I mean, it's either I create another page and take care of these things on my own time, or else I just be done with this whole thing altogether. And guess what, guys? I've invested too much into Oren and Orson to stop now, and especially to let some derelict desert dumbass dissuade me from doing what I'm doing. Guys, guess what? Again, like I said earlier, the boots on the ground, or the feet in the soil, whatever, terminology or metaphor you want to use for it, that number of people is very small, guys. The whole rest of the community is based around the people that live out of state. And so, we have a very infectious disease going around in this community right now, and it makes for an impossible time to try to help these boys.
Right. Right. And it's one of those things where you wonder, what are they like in real life? Because a lot of these people, once they're on the computer, they go into a different world. And it's unfortunate because, it's for me, it's hard to change just to try to get a reaction, or it's me, or people, will come from, another platform where, they don't even know anybody and just start rifling out. And it's a cry, either a cry for help or a cry for subs. I'm not sure. What's up, Ozzy? What's up, Ruby Ray? Now I can see everything. Oh, great.
And one of the other issues is the people that are in illusion with these other channels when things go awry. Um, you know, what you need to focus on, co-signers, you need to focus on completely disconnecting yourself from anything going on with some of these other platforms that are doing all the donations and all this other stuff. You need to disconnect yourself from them. You need to not have a digital trail between you and the heat, because that's what we call in the streets a fuse. And once it's lit, it doesn't matter where you go, it's going to catch up to you. So let's take into account that we've all seen some CSI and some Law and Order, and hell, I'll take it on back to Hill Street Blues. We've all seen some cop shows, and we all know that when you are connected with someone that's doing less than right, you're in the wrong.
Right. And a lot of times all they want is a reaction. And they're the focus, when actually, we'll be doing a live stream and somebody will come in and say something that has nothing to do with what we're doing, so you could focus on what their comment is, and that just takes you off key. And I was talking that with another channel today, and she has a big issue with that too, and I said, don't even worry about the attacks on me.
Yeah.
I was trying to get the attacks away from you, and
Right.
that's that was my goal. And it took spinning crazy narratives and crazy different idealistics on a channel, to where people finally were showing their true colors, or how angry they get because they don't agree with you. And if they don't agree with you, then it's the attack.
Yeah. You're exactly right.
Good, Danny boy,
I
thanks.
see this gentleman here pinned, Danny Box. Man, I sure hate that aren't you now the focus of a balanced young man from Canada, a
Canada.
Canadian effort to destroy your channel and your platform, sir? Why are you over here beating up on me and Doug, man? Why don't you go away before I have to block you, friend? Thank you, Shauna. Northside Sack. I don't even know who you are, but why don't you go find another way to try to come on into this chat? Peace.
You can kind of see who
Yeah,
the
guys. So
groupies are.
yeah, actually today, guys, someone created a page. His name is I don't even want to say his name because it'll probably draw that rat over here. But he created a page in the name of an officer that works. This is how insane this is, guys. He created a page in the name of an officer that works a beat in the area where I live, and then created a bunch of propaganda about me. And so, guys, the onslaught is never ending. And again, I hate to reiterate or backtrack or repeat myself, but you know what? Again, there's only just so much that you could take before. Okay, Danny, that's cool, man. But go grow your pot somewhere else, bro. We don't want to see it. Peace. Yeah, I know. I don't know what's up, Ruby. What's up with this feed? I don't even know. I think you're just trying to come in here. You know what, guys? I'm sorry that I'm kind of irritated, but again, there's only so much that one can take, right? Last week, I had an issue with my hand, as a lot of you know, and that I kind of that passed on by without me speaking too much about it. And then I had the issue with the gentleman a few days ago that wanted, I think it was Sunday or Saturday morning, wanted to play around with the guns because he was trying to pull a woman out of her car. And I got involved and was like, hey man, you're a coward for trying to open up this woman's car door and pull her out and beat her up because you were driving like an idiot because you're intoxicated. and she flipped you off. You know, and then
Which is
I
freedom of
step in.
speech. It's
Do
a
what?
freedom of speech. Flipping someone off is a freedom of speech,
Absolutely,
whether it's
absolutely.
to a
And you know
government
what? The
official or
gentleman,
to a private person.
that's it. The gentleman in the truck, in the Jeep, in front of her, he was cool all the way until he touched her door handle messing with me, right? Like, you're cool, I guess, if you want to step out in machismo against a little tiny lesbian woman, but bro, when you try to get in her car and jerk her out, that's when you got to mess with me now. And that is just a symptom of the sickness in the world, guys. You want to know how many people, you know, because a lot of you know that I'm a recovering addict, and you know, I keep a foot in the sober community. And you would be shocked to know, guys, how many addicts and alcoholics who have had long-term sobriety have lost it over this last year of the pandemic. It's just, you know, it's, you know, being trapped in the house is really making people hateful, and it just, the negativity is the go-to emotion.
Yeah, and I also identify as an addict, even though we don't do stuff like we used to. You know, we lived, and anybody who judges that um, hasn't looked at themselves and been like, listen, when I was little and I took that candy out of the little plastic bins at the supermarket and just ate it, you're stealing. That's theft.
Right.
But you could say you've never
Right.
done anything wrong, and then it goes from one lie to another lie, and then you start lying to yourself, like like it's a justification of what you want people to, you know, preconceived notion of you. And again, like if you can't look in the mirror and been like, I've been a liar, I've been full of shit, and I've been a bullshitter before, like I tell myself I've done that in the past, but I can identify who's lying, who's a bullshitter, and who's full of shit now. Or if you've used drugs, um if you've ever if you can understand it, Benny and I were talking about this because we make jokes about it and we laugh because laughter is the spice of life. And sometimes um when we're nervous or when we don't know what to say, we laugh, and it's just a form of habit for myself or for other people. But then if you laugh and they don't agree with it, then they attack you like you did something wrong. And you know, that's not the case with things like that. And you know, and when we laugh about,
Yeah.
you know, someone stealing your shit and then helping you look for it, like that's all happened to us. You know what I mean? You're like, that I used to be that guy. And I was like, that's funny because, you know, that's the kind of stuff people won't understand, that kind of world. And I'm talking to somebody in a case right now, where, you know, there's a lot more that hasn't been disclosed that I'm going to bring out, um, on the Ramey case. And it's, you know, and there's a bunch of drugs going on. There's heroin and meth, and one of
Oh
the best
man.
friends was apparently a heroin and meth dealer, and she's still one of the biggest ones, you know. And
Yeah.
and there's a bigger conclusion to this Ramey case, and how, you know, her family thought about her, and that she was working with the cops. A lot of people, you know, found out she was working with the cops, but she's dating some guy who's involved in drugs. And so a lot of people who tell like a story of, you know, about like a meth story, or I've never tried heroin, I never tried any of that shit. Have I ever tried, you know, drugs before? Yeah, very, very few. Um, Weed was my drug of choice, but I don't even smoke weed anymore. And the clarity and the, you know, the confidence that I have in myself, knowing that I would never step back into that. You can understand a story from somebody who's on drugs or been on drugs because it doesn't sound way out in the clouds like it really is. Like you try to tell a cop something when one addict steals from another, and then they both sound stupid because nobody can identify that story or really identify it to who has never done drugs or been around those kind of people. And so, you know, that's why when somebody goes to the cops, you know, and tries to say something, but yet, you know, they're trying to explain about this drug world, and the cops get it. They understand. But but
Yeah.
but the
Yeah, they do.
average everyday person doesn't. The average
Right.
everyday
No, and
person doesn't get it.
you've got to start, you know, you start to look at folks that just have, you know, an organic, um, and that equates to, you know, to a fraction of the violence. But then you start to look at the people who have, you know, mental deficits, but then are self-medicating. And those people, you know, have the potential to be, you know, a pressure cooker, you know, very explosive. And it's unfortunate, but in a lot of these cases where, and I saw you, Kinsley, Yeah, and a lot of these, and specifically, they're in the Orrin and Orson West case. Let me specify. There seems to be some crazy activity going on with the facts and with the lead platforms and all of that stuff. You know, to me, is symptoms of either drug abuse or you know, mental illness, because it is just the everyday constant exposing of people that are, you know, bringing. Guess what? Guys, if you bring forward online the let's say the past of a alleged sexual offender, you got to have balls to do that. You got to have a lot of balls to face your accuser and to be even a part of you know, a situation where someone is ousted. And you know, I applaud every woman nowadays that's coming forward to be, you know, the Epstein thing, the Epstein thing, the Governor Cuomo thing. I
The
applaud
Bill
all
Cosby
women.
thing.
Yeah, you know, I applaud all women that have, you know, that intestinal fortitude to come forward after all this time. You know, after a certain amount of time, guys, I would assume, like a lot of tragedies that happen to anyone in the world, you get over them, right? You know, so
It's
you
how
know,
you face. It's how you face. It's how you face it. It's how you. It's how. If you've been not a piece of shit, but a drug addict in the past, or have ever done drugs before, or ever made, you know, stole something or done this. If you identify to yourself what you were, it's not what you are. It's what you are in that situation back in the day. Or I mean, if you're continually on it and continuing to this day, then yeah, you're just you're just stuck and you're perma-spun or something. But if you don't identify yourself as what you are, like, yes, I was an addict. I mean, for whether it was you know, drug, sex, or rock and roll, it doesn't matter what it
that's
is.
it.
It if you can identify, it's not as harsh when somebody else to this day even says, "Oh yeah, you're this, you're that." It's like, no, maybe I was back then, or maybe I dipped a few times way back when, but that's not who, you know, what identifies to me as what I am. What I identify as myself is somebody who's had a problem before, whether it was a day or 2 days or a couple of weeks or whatever it was, but it was never a continual thing. But I still have to identify as an addict, because that's what you learn in the classes. That's what you learn in daily life. And if you don't identify as a good person, then you're just identifying yourself as is you're just a straight liner. You've never done anything wrong. You've never jaywalked before. You've never done this. You've never done that. We've all done things that we're not proud of, but there's a way to give back. It's you know, to help another person in need, to get somebody help, whether it's forceful, like you have to with those people around your house in your neighborhood. You're forcing help on those
Absolutely.
people. You're doing a good thing. and
Hopefully,
and that
guys, go ahead. I'm sorry.
and that makes you be able to identify as a great person, because I know you from from what we started with YouTube. And I tell you this all the time. You've done a 180. You're the guy I would love to call my friend. You're the guy I love to say you're my brother, and I love to tell you I
Yeah,
love you before we get off the phone, because I
yeah,
know
all the time.
that 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 I do love you as a person. And a lot of people love you, and a lot of people love and hate us too. But it's like, we know where we stand, and nobody can come in and try to destroy that, whether it's with a comment or sending you stuff about, you know, that this person's this and this person's that, when you know who we are, you know who I
Right.
am. And people don't get that. They think they can use a platform to break people up as friends. But if you're a true friend and you identify as a true friend, and you've done everything. I mean, you told me come to Texas if I needed to. You got a place right here, you know,
That's
without
it.
without question. You got kids there, you got this and that, and you got your other issues in your life, and things to deal with, but yet you were willing to stick your neck out for my life. You had a bail bondsman on the phone, you know, ready
Yeah,
to
I
go
did.
for me, and I wasn't even in jail. And that's awesome. And I can't thank you enough, or your wife, to even
I
have
got
that kind of confidence in me. You know what I mean? And
you. Yep.
and I do the same for you in a hot second. And and then there's a lot of people in chat right now. You know, Aussie Insider, Ruby Ray, all these people who we've grown to know and love. Um, as not only YouTube personalities or a YouTube name, but it's beyond that. We get emails from them. We get, they're constantly in here showing love and showing hearts and doing the things that anybody would love to have as a friend. And when people pick up on that and see there's a lot of people who really just support you because they love you and like you, then that makes other people angry because they don't have that in their lives.
No, Purple Knights. I had her comment pinned. Purple, I can only speak for me. I've been sober over 3 years now. Typically, my modus operandi is IV. I was an IV drug user for about 2 years, and I didn't have a real long career in the drug world, but I would go back and forth from rehab, and then I'd get out and I'd do good, and then I'd put together some time, and then I'd fall off the wagon. And usually I'd fall off the wagon. There was always a woman in the mix. So this last time, 3 years ago, it did not progress to the IV stage. I was just snorting it, and I learned a lot.
Did you love yourself then?
I hated myself. I absolutely
now you love, and now you love yourself, don't you?
That, man, in the most healthy way. It's guys, you got to know that you can't. First of all, you can't help an addict, or you can't really help someone whose life is falling apart. All you can ever really hope to do, guys, is to motivate that person and give them enough love that they can. They can kind of energize themselves and lift up the bottom. That's terminology, guys, in the AA room and the NA room, is raising the bottom. That is strategically doing things with the end all hope that you can help a struggling addict reach their bottom much quicker. I was what they called a low bottom addict. A low bottom addict means that they typically lose everything. They got to start all over. I was always very, very, I was very envious of my friends who were what they call high bottom
functioning addict.
Yeah,
functioning addict.
A high bottoming addict can, they can party just on the weekend and get rest Sunday night before they go to work Monday, and then maybe never touch it for months, sometimes years. I still to this day have a lot of friends. I won't name specifically, but they're kind of like that Christmas time Coke sniffer, or you know what I mean, like Christmas party, they want to have
right,
and then
once a year,
exactly.
year or something.
Exactly. And fortunately, guys, I'm very thankful now that I'm not one of those persons that can drink and drug responsibly. There's just, to me, there is no responsible way to use narcotics or alcohol. And I'll tell you guys that over the history of the existence of narcotics, a lot of narcotics have been used for medicinal purpose, whether it be amphetamines, methamphetamines. Cocaine was used as an anesthetic for broken noses and headache medicine. But the only medical use for alcohol is an antiseptic. So we marijuana, it's very medicinal, and it doesn't even really matter who you ask. It's just kind of, it's public science now. But all of these things, guys, are designed. They're designed in such a way to bring a particular amount of downfall to a community, so as to keep it in check, right? So what I mean by that is, here in Dallas, it's a well-known fact that if you get food assistance in the more impoverished areas, where the EBT card is going to be used most specifically, the prices on groceries and different items and commodities in those areas are much higher as opposed to areas where the demographic is less with the EBT card. And that's the way that the government checks and balances, right? It's like, we're going to give away free EBT money to people, but the way that we balance the budget is by, overpriced and gouging those individuals that, if you live in certain impoverished areas, you're going to pay more to walk to the corner store and get you some cornbread than you are to jump in a car and drive somewhere. And that's all balanced into the checks and balances, guys.
And don't think that they don't use that to find out who's trading their government funds for drugs as well. I mean, there's a lot of people who be like, even when I was smoking pot, there would be like, hey, can I buy you some groceries and can I have some pot? And I'm just like, dude, if you need it that bad, just take it and eat. And it's a sad thing. And I just want to give those people a hug at that point, or just be like, dude, get it together. Get it together, because at some point you got to outgrow something, and we all outgrow ourselves at some point in things that we've done. And I can look back 10 years and been like, it was 10 years ago when I used, and I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 12, and it wasn't really known about at that time, really, but they wanted to pump me up with all this stuff. At a point when I was taking, 60 milligrams of amphetamine salts, which is, ADHD medicine, and then Xanax and this and that. And it was like about, I'd say 4 years ago, I was like, I'm done with this. I can't do it anymore. And it's been the first time in my life that I, had gone to a psychiatrist and been like, hey, listen, this is what I'm struggling with. It came down to sadness. But it was the first time in my life that I had ever been honest to a psychiatrist. You know what I mean? I walk in there in nothing but saran wrap, and he's like, I can clearly see your nuts. You know what I mean? And it was like, I'm just like, oh, dude, that's what I don't, I don't want to be that guy, asking for more and stuff, because that was the addict in me. And I saw that coming out, and it was affecting me. And I had to identify again myself as an addict, because I thought I was healed 10 years ago plus, or whatever it was. And until I was honest to myself, and then honest to the psychiatrist, or I'm really struggling with my PTSD, and it's really making my ADHD bad, and it's making this bad and all that. All I do is take now some PTSD medication. I don't take I wouldn't even touch a Xanax again. I hate the way things make me feel like that. And I was one of those odd and rare addicts where I could never enjoy even getting high, because I thought of the repercussions during. I was one of those guys where it's like, oh, I can't. Like, when I smoked a cigarette, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore either. But when I did smoke, I would never enjoy the cigarette, because I thought I was getting cancer with every puff. And it was at that point I was like, now why spend $10 a pack on cigarettes when that $10 could be towards my kids, or towards, good grade stuff for my kids, or just for myself to have like what I need when I need it, because I can live very frugally. But at the same rate, I have to always identify that way, because otherwise I'll go back to thinking I'm okay and stop everything. And then my brain goes out of whack, or something goes out of whack. So I've learned to identify myself for what I am. And a lot of the stuff where I told you, you're going to get a lot of trolls. You're going to get a lot of people, trying to down you if you want to be honest about what you are and what you were. But what I see now is a great man who's learned from all of those mistakes, and can now pass that on to somebody else and make their lives better, and show them that, listen, I was in that position before, but look what you could have now. Look at you. You got a pair of $1,000 sneakers behind your head. You know what I mean? Like, you got everything you ever lost times 10. You've got a great wife. You've got great family. You got, your kids who love you, and you're a great dad, and you're a great friend. And we both probably would identify as not being great friends to people at one point in our lives, because we were so self-focused on ourselves and our own needs that we didn't care about other people. But what shows that you're a good person is the person you are today, and the person you are every day. And again, I appreciate you, and I'm sure people, in the chat love you for that reason, because you're able to identify yourself as a great person today, and they identify you as a great person today. Are you frozen?
Sorry. There's a lot of people, even in my family, that struggle with addiction issues. And they like to use the fact that I've been so successful in my sobriety for the past 3 years. They'll use it against you, like, oh yeah, you're the sober one. Mom and dad or whatever. They love you more, and it's like, they try to diminish the hard work that it took for me to get where I was. And Lisa Hogan, she says many addicts started out due to an injury and then they were prescribed an opiate. So very true. We live in a system right now. Short story, guys. Last September, I tripped and fell down due to Dallas City negligence, and so I've been involved in a lawsuit where in the next, actually Thursday, I go to have the consultation for my spinal surgery, and so flashing back in time to last September, I have
Thank
several
you, Shauna.
issues with my back. I have several issues with numbness down my arm, and so to kind of corral and manage the pain, they gave me codeine. And typically, I've never had a problem with opiates, but typically, I wouldn't take the pills because I'm kind of a holistic guy. I don't, I feel like a headache. You can, have a cup of coffee or, get through it, right,
Exactly.
without a pill. But
which coffee's an addiction too. Caffeine's an addiction as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a mind altering drug. It's got psychoactive features. But I initially told the people, I was like, yeah, I'd rather not start on the pills. And like, well, here, we'll just prescribe you some so you have them for your PRN. You can, take them as you need them. And I said, okay. And so I took them. And long story short, guys, I don't even know how long it took me to get addicted, but it came to a point where, it was like I took the last pill out of that bottle and I was fine. And then 2 days later, I couldn't peel myself off the couch. I was vomiting. I was going to die. I felt like, and that was all have accident due to someone else's negligence. And now my life, got upended. And so I tell you what I did is they kept sending me the medicine. They sending me this codeine. And now they've even doubled the strength. So instead of taking codeine 3s, I'm taking, codeine 7s or whatever. And I'm not taking them, but I'm being prescribed them. And so, my wife just puts them in the safe, for apocalyptic days or whatever. But, I had to cold turkey stop taking these pills I didn't even know I was addicted to. And this
what's sad about this? What's sad about this is the government forces this stuff almost on you because it's a money maker to them. They don't care how many people die because it helps the population because our population is growing so fast. And I think it's a great idea that we do this maybe once a week or twice a week or something and let people talk and come up and tell their story, whether you show your face or not, as long as we know who you are before you come up on the stream so we don't get porn bombed or something stupid happens. You come up here and use whatever name you want, but if it helps you to come and talk about it, because again, we're not perfect. We can only walk by the lines that for me, it's from Jesus Christ. Like I have to walk by the lines of the Lord now because I know that I'm his, I used to think that he was my co-pilot until I got it through my head, that I'm his co-pilot. Then it changed a lot for me. And again, when people attack me or say that you're this, you're that, and maybe I was, but today I'm healthy, and today I could help somebody get that if they need it, or I could help give them a solution, or where to go, or how to talk to their parents about it. But you have to be honest, and if you're not honest with yourself, you're never going to be honest to that person that could give you that chance to be great again, or be great. Period.
Aussie Insider, she made a very fine statement. Good on you, hon. Prescription med addiction is such a first world issue. Guys, for anyone that doesn't actually know what that means is say you go to the Philippines and you have the same kind of injury you had in the Philippines that you would have had in America.
Thanks,
in the private sector, guys. Thank you very much for that. That's Leandra. Thank you, love. Thank you very much for that. what happens is when you're in the private sector and you get injured or you have insurance and you have a complaint, you're going to get the pills immediately. It's called pain management. Now, if you go through a lawsuit, and you're trying to seek the court's help in getting compensation, the first thing they're going to do is throw pills at you. Now, if you are the demographic that's impoverished and you're on the margins and the fringes of society, you could have the same kind of set injury and you walk yourself into your local ER, and if you have the correct credentials in your wallet, they're going to probably give you nothing or give you some Motrin or ibuprofen that you have to pay for.
And I know people that as far as going to the doctors on a weekly basis, admitting themselves to the ER, because that's the way they get their fix. And it's sad that it has to come to that, because they're taking a bed away from somebody who really needs it out of selfishness or out of just selfishness, I guess you could say. It's a sad thing. And again,
that's all it is.
For a long time, I thought it was great. I'd go to a new psychiatrist and be like, no, I wasn't on 30 milligrams of Adderall. I was on 60. So then it's upped automatically without them even checking your records. And that's a sad thing, because I knew how to work the system, because I didn't think I was an addict if it was a prescription, but then I felt, really bad and sick, from this stuff. And again, it didn't help. It actually made my ADHD worse and my post-traumatic stress worse. And again, we think we're healing ourselves when actually we're making it worse for ourselves. And until you can understand that it's not about that Xanny bar, and it's not about that Adderall pill, or it's not about that drink. It's about my next step forward in life. And every day, if you take a step forward, you're going to move forward. If you start, doing the things that you normally do, you take 2 steps back for every one forward. I used to say my 12 steps was 24 steps, because I kept falling down the 12. My thing of AA was another alcoholic. It wasn't AA like I'm going to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was dealing with another alcoholic, or somebody else that and it always made me feel just a little bit better in that state. But then I realized that once you separate yourself from those kind of people and look into yourself and your feelings and deal and talk to people about it, be honest with people, because again, people are going to judge us no matter what. You got another Beagle Mama? Thanks for that super chat. Thanks for that super chat, Beagle Mama.
Thank you, love. Thank you. I didn't even see it. Thank you so much, love. Love. Beagle Mama said, I think the Veterans Administration tries to keep veterans hooked. The farm at the VA here in Colorado Springs criticizes the natural ways I manage pain. I told her to take a hike with her dirty money. That is.
Hey, I'll be right back. My kid's calling me, Benny. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I gotta talk to my kid.
Because when we get such rare glimpses into what happens behind the scenes at the VAs, and it's really a crisis going on that these young men they come back from doing their due diligence, and they come back with issues, and so many of these guys they suffer a psychotic break. They become dependent on the pills that they're given. They become dependent on all the services, and any time that a service person loses their benefits or isn't being nurtured by the system in which they fought for, it is such a dereliction of duty by the U.S. government. I mean, we saw an explosion of veterans come back from Vietnam who had picked up a lot of veterans guys came back from Vietnam, and they had severe opiate issues, and because they had opiate issues, made it difficult for a lot of veterans at that time to get help, because what would happen is they either were discharged due to drug usage, or a lot of veterans guys actually stayed in Vietnam after the war because they didn't want to move too far away from where the good drugs were. And so a startling number of these guys come back. And this was a phenomenon even in Desert Storm and, the subsequent desert conflict, that these guys come back from Southeast Asia where opium is a cash crop. If you look at a lot of the pictures of troops fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, when they're walking through those really pretty fields of purple and orange and yellow flowers, that's opium growing. Cash crop in Southeastern Asia is opium, guys. It's just the way it is. And these guys come home and they have vicious addictions, and it's not that they can't always get the resources. It's that because of the drug addiction, they're not able to follow through with these follow-up appointments and keep up their end of the deal. Now you can only fuck off the government so many times before they just remove you from these programs.
Or they give up on you, yeah. Are you frozen, Benny? I can't hear you. Hey, can you guys hear me? Can someone put a 1 in the chat?
That's
really,
guys. Sorry, that's really all I have to add. I really just.
Well, I can say my dad has 4 Purple Hearts. He's a veteran, and he's healthier than I am at 74 years old. He's in great shape, and he's about to go back into the National Guard to help for free. He doesn't want anything, so he's going back in the National Guard this week as well. And awesome. What's sad is that there's a lot of veterans out there that come back and kill themselves or jump into these tree trimming machines or garbage can crushers and take their own lives because, again, they're neglected when they come back after fighting for our freedoms. And it's so sad because there's so many of them who come back with PTSD, and I can relate to a lot of this stuff. I was in a work-related shooting when I was a security guard where 2 people died and 1 ended up all over me. And that's where my PTSD comes from. Every time somebody goes over a speed bump, it sounds like a gunshot. And some, and then people think you're crazy when you jump if someone says something behind you and you don't know what's going on. And it's a sad thing. And I feel for our veterans, and I feel for, anybody who's suffering from an addiction or suffering from PTSD or not getting the proper treatment or the proper acknowledgments or the proper help from people who struggle with it or who've gotten through it or who are dealing and managing with it. And again, like if I got to come out here and identify as an addict and be honest with everybody to help somebody else, if I could just help one person out of 27,000 people or 21,000 subscribers, I've done my job, because it only takes you getting to 1, and that 1 gets to 1, and that other 1 gets to 1. And then it starts becoming a pattern of practice. And that's what I feel good about. At the end of the day, if a problem that I had that I got a solution to can help somebody else, by all means, let me put myself out there or let me throw myself under the bus. I don't need any other troll or any other channel or any other person throwing me under the bus. Like we're doing right now. We could talk about it because we know who we are today, and people see that you're a strong person and you're not weak, even though when they try to attack you and see how weak you can become because of their attacks. It only makes us stronger. If somebody attacks me, it makes me work harder. And I don't know about you, but the next day I know that I have touched somebody with something I said, whether it was good or bad. It's still you're still being talked about, or the situation or the person or the drug or that addict that needs somebody, or that addict that needs that last fix, but could be their last fix. Everybody wants to have that last going out party, but it could be your going out party if you don't make the right move. And again, I don't have a problem with telling people what I've done in my life. I don't need other people coming in and trying to attack you for trying to be honest, but I'm okay with if they want to attack me, because I know at the end of the day where I stand and who I am. And I didn't back in the day. I was even lost after my divorce. And And when my mom passed away of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia 5 years ago, I lost it because, everything that's ever gathered up on me in any addiction I had in the past came back and said, "Hey, you need to just go use. You need to go do this." And and
Yeah.
and what I did is I did something I never done before. I did the opposite, and
Yeah.
it took that.
The old epithet is to get something you've never expected. You got to do something that you
I
never
love
thought you'd
Eagle.
be able to do. It's guys, America is the number one importer of all inner drugs. It just is. We have a culture. We have a culture that just is the perpetuation of insanity every single day. Like when I think I've actually heard the craziest stuff that I thought I could have heard, something new comes up. Like I just heard about a lady who threw, I think it was in Oklahoma City. Don't quote me, but this lady threw two of her kids over a rooftop, and then I believe she was on her way over the edge, and police was able to stop her. So it's just, guys, America is really falling apart at the seams, and it's gotten like in Boulder, Colorado, you can't even go to the supermarket. I don't go to a Walmart because Walmart equates to, crime scene. That's what Walmart means to me, crime scene. And so it's, ultimately, guys, the point of this live was to remind everyone in here, whether you're a recovering addict or whether you know someone that's struggling with an addiction right now, there's resources
Or if
out
you're
there, guys.
or if you're just fallible, or if you're just fallible, because we're all fallible and we all
Yeah,
make mistakes. We all do. And
yeah,
it takes
we're
us to
all
be friends with each other and tell us, "Hey, you're screwing up right now," or "Hey, you need to really look at what's going on and before you make that decision." Because Benny and I could have very well not been friends and gone our separate ways, and I could have just thrown all the ideas out when he contacted me back, and he admitted to me, he's like, "Hey, dude, this is the way I was in the beginning, but that you changed after we started talking." And I thank the Lord for that, and I thank
good.
you for that, because I wouldn't have a best friend like you if you didn't take that second and be like, "Hey, dude, I think I fucked up," or if I didn't say,
Yeah.
"Hey, dude, I fucked up too. Don't worry." You know what I mean? We all fuck up.
Guys, a lot of people say that they've never seen a miracle. And let me tell you this right now, guys, very candidly, just for the people that's in here now. We've heard all the science about addiction being hereditary, right? It's almost, it's a science, like, it's widely believed and widely accepted that addiction is hereditary. Or it's, it stipulates from hereditary issues. But let me tell you how great my God is, guys. My God, he enlightened some people to create a program to where you can come into a room with people that are just like you, maybe worse, maybe not. But inside of this room is a God filled, not necessarily a God filled,
Whatever your God is, or whatever
filled.
your higher power is,
That's it.
everyone has a different higher
That's
power.
it. Whether a lot of the old time sponsees would say, or sponsors would say, make your door, make a doorknob your higher power, make your cigarette lighter your higher power, whatever you can do to get out of yourself if you don't believe that Jesus Christ is your personal Lord and Savior. And so, some of the very critical stages are about, understanding that you're not equipped and things are unmanageable. But let me get back on point. My God is so great that he will allow someone to come into a room with fellow addicts and alcoholics and pray away a disease. Guys, I'm telling you how great my God is. If you've never seen a miracle, watch an addict that's been clean 18 years or 18 hours. And God is all in that, people. He is a fabulous, magnificent God, and he will take away your ability to try and kill yourself day to day. That's how powerful my God, my Jesus, my Christ, my
And
personal Lord and
you
Savior.
got to learn how to talk to your God and your Jesus, just like you
That's
did.
it.
It may not work for somebody else, but once they
No,
find their God or their Jesus or whatever you want to call it, their higher power, um, their namaste, whatever you want to say, once they find that, it's almost like somebody gives you a check for life. You got a check and it's blank, and instead of a dollar sign, it's got life in that box. You know what I mean? It gives you a new
oh yeah,
sense of yourself. It gives you a new
yeah,
sense of purpose, and it changes what monetary value is to you, as opposed to money and living life and being able to live, whether you're on the streets or not. You're breathing. It could be worse.
yeah.
It's a lot worse looking up at the grass than looking down at the grass. You know, it's a lot
Yeah,
worse if you're looking up at dirt and walking across, a muddy path.
yeah. I mean, the object of this game, guys, is to stay this side of the dirt as long as you can, just as long as earthly possible. And in the meantime, don't get distracted or anchored down by by a lot of these societal issues. We have the highest rate in everything in the world. We have the highest rate, from teen pregnancy down to police officer suicide, ill in between. America is the epicenter of all of it, guys. I mean, it's the epicenter of tropical storms. It's the epicenter of plane crashes. It's the epicenter of in America we
Terrorist
have a funny term.
attacks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In America we have the funny term of well, I don't want to say that. It's not very politically correct. But yeah, guys, you get my point. We are all very oppressed. We are all slaves to the American dream. And it's just, we live in a place where they will loan you 110% of something's value, and it can only in its entirety be worth 100% of its own value. So here in America, we'll create programs to lend people money, more money than shit's worth. So as we know that they go into the dirt, and then they become, they have to file for bankruptcy, and then they have to do the whole, foreclosure stuff. Like, only in America, guys. There's actually other countries that will appoint you housing and appoint you, a suitable insurance plan. Certain states in the union have a livable tax, like Alaska. They actually pay you to inhabit their land and create commerce. So, guys, America is on the fold right now, like a
And I
cheap
worked
tent.
in finance for a long time. I worked in finance for a long time. I owned my own debt settlement company and credit repair company. And what I noticed was the pattern of practice of people, with divorce and can't move out because they can't afford to leave each other. So they have to be divorced, living miserable together. I mean, what happens is the number one reason of divorce is finances. And then next is drugs or
Absolutely.
addiction. Drugs or addiction.
Absolutely.
And then, and if you can't be stronger than that drug or that addiction, or work through something, nobody should have to live miserable together. But unfortunately, again, you said we're like the epicenter of no solution. You know what I mean? It's almost here. Yeah, you don't have enough money to live, have a credit card. You know what I mean? Then you think it's buy now and pay later, but you don't understand what pay later means. That means you pay it off at the end of the month. But once you start to get
Right.
that buy now, pay later, and robbing Peter to pay Paul, and credit card to credit card, you build a bigger deficit, a bigger hole for yourself. And once you can't get out
Absolutely.
of that, then the suicide happens, or then this happens, or the crimes happen. And I believe a lot of the stuff could be, and legalizing drugs, I believe, and would create a lot of a solution, like they've been even talking about on the news. They have these like hospital areas where people can go and get shot up with the drug of their choice, but then they have somebody watching to make sure they don't overdose and do this and do that. But yet they're still funding this. You know what I mean? They found a way to
Yeah.
make money legally off someone's addiction, and it's sick to me. But at the same rate, I'm thinking, all right, so would have less people in jail if drugs were legal, because a lot of times they're just users. A lot of people who want to do something to themselves. I don't really have something against that. If you're not hurting somebody else by you know, giving them the drug and starting them on it or this or that. You know, if you want to do something to yourself, you go ahead. It's America. You should be free to do that. But once that turns into something that turns criminal because of crime happening or shootings or theft and all this other stuff, that's when they, you know, can make more money off you, you know, with bail, with court dates, with
Absolutely.
this and that. And it's all about money to the world. And once you see that, I don't want to pay into that. I don't want to pay into that bank account. You know,
Right.
I'm not gonna help fund this. You know, by not doing drugs myself or not doing something myself. If I can help defund them a little bit, if we could get a one person on board a day or one person on board a month, you know, it slowly but surely we're going to make a difference in different communities. Again, we're not going to fix the world. We're not here to fix the world. We're here to give a solution or let you know that, hey, you're not alone if you've been in this position or if you're in this position now. And it has to come out and has to be said. We can't hide, you know, what we are and what we've done, because then it turns into something we're not, you know. And that's where we get these trolls that are just so miserable with their lives, or they're doing this or they're doing that. It's because they can't identify as that kind of person or a certain kind of, you know, thing that they're doing that's bad for, you know, for the society, you know, or the world. And it's sad that that people have to hide behind a computer to feel like they're somebody else or make their life better in a way where they feel like they have, you know, you give somebody a wrench and they're a moderator, that could change, that changes a lot of people's ways. And people go to different sites and different, you know, people and try to get these wrenches and try to be something, you know. A lot of them are good people. Like we have very good wrenches and very good moderators, and we got a bunch of good people in here. I wish I could mod everybody, but again, we don't always know who that person is. You know, it would be an ideal world if we could give everybody a wrench, then nobody would be different. And we don't want you guys to see anybody as different that we have as wrenches, because again, you see in the chat how much love there is in this room right now. I'd take all 55 people in here than 10,000 people, because if we have 55 people with love and somebody that's you see all the chat that everybody's lifting everybody up in the chat. Everybody's saying, oh, I've got, you know, my son has this or my family has this, and what we see a heart, or we see someone say, you know, I love you, or this. That's what we want. You know, we want to be full of love in this chat room. And again, we're going to get those people who don't have that kind of love or don't have that in their heart. And again, we'll deal with it, or they can just, um, you know, continue to be who they are. But again, at one point in their lives, they're going to have to make a decision when they're at the fork in the road or the chopstick in the road or whatever. I don't want to be unpolitically correct here. But like, you know what I mean? Like now they want to
I
say a
do.
man and a woman. Like I don't know how to even approach something like that. And that's why I don't get into politics and stuff on my channel, because you know, you lose the focus on the person because you see a Democrat and a Republican in a room. Of course, we're not getting together all right now. You know what I mean? Like there's so much going on. The world right now is in so much trouble. And if we could come to YouTube and get away even from the world of the hate and all the stuff that's going on, we could have that love in our lives that will take us through the day, and we don't have to watch the news. You just have to be you, you know, be you, come in, say hi, email us, call us. That's how it works with us. It's not like that with every channel, but you know, there's a lot of you guys that have our personal phone numbers that we talk to on a constant daily
Yeah.
basis.
Like my real
And that
phone
makes
number.
me feel like you really care, and vice versa. If you have a problem and you call us, or you're going through something in your life, which we've all done with each other, a majority of us in this room, um, it takes us to a different place. Like if someone wants to quit YouTube and they call you because they're getting in trouble, like I don't want to name her name right now because she's a good friend of ours, but you know, we were able to, you know, walk her off the ledge of not wanting to keep, you know, posting about the boys or moving on with stories that they feel like they need to, because they feel so broken as a person. And if they could call us and at the end of the conversation, oh my God, man, thank you so much, or I love you, thank you, that, and you never even got to hug that person in real life or even see them, you know, past a YouTube, you know, emoji. Um,
Yeah.
that's love right there. That's love right
You
there
know,
to the fullest extent.
yeah, and you know what, guys? I once I got sober and stayed sober, I was so, you know, I became, I found myself feeling so blessed that I was an addict, solely because it feels like God appointed me with a job for the rest of my life. Like I can go to any city in any town and help somebody get sober. I can help, any struggling, somebody struggling with sobriety or struggling with spirituality. I'm going to fall short of the glory like everyone else, guys. I don't wake up in the morning aiming to fall short. A lot of people that have a twisted reality think, that they can put it all off on God so they don't have to deal with certain things or what have you. But the fine line is, being ordained to. I'm sort of like the sobriety mandated reporter, right? Like you can ask my wife. We go places, and especially before the COVID, but it didn't matter who it was. Like people with addictions and issues were just drawn to me, and I helped so many people last year get services right through the same rooms and doors and beds that I had to sleep on and go through in order to stay sober. So, I'm so blessed to be an addict, because if it were not that, then this wouldn't be a social issue that I probably would care about, right? So,
It would be
for the
it would be a social judgment, because then we'd be
yeah,
judging somebody because we don't understand that, because we weren't that or we were that. You know what I mean? Like either you're one or
absolutely.
the other. That's not the way it is. You're always going to be, completely one. You know what I mean? If you can identify as an addict, and that means you're identifying as somebody that's had an addiction, but you're identifying as a human. Also, you're identifying your own person as somebody who is able to get through that. And again, Jennifer, I just saw your comment in there. Congratulations on being, going lower on methadone and things like that. Again, no, I
Yeah,
don't
man.
have any judgment. I don't have any judgment on you. I don't have any judgment at all
No,
on you. What I have is a bunch of respect for you, because you just wrote
fucking A.
something that maybe it's hard to tell somebody else.
And that's what this is about tonight, guys. This is about, being able to touch the inner you and calm the inner you, and find that place, that niche where you can go and find, that moment's reprieve. Because a lot of us know that have dealt with the demoralizing effects of drug abuse, that there's nothing anyone else in the world can do to us that we haven't done to ourselves already. And that's really the testament, is that if you can make it through a situation where you're trying to kill yourself, nobody can stop you. So we all, tonight, guys, going into the rest of this week, um, find someone that's struggling. Take a moment every day, guys, to get out of yourself to help someone else, because that's all it takes. It takes for you to just put a smile on somebody's face for a moment. Now, guys, that anyone out there that will hear this that may be worried about withdrawals or worried about the effects that take place coming off of these drugs, if you have those concerns or questions or issues, feel free to email me at altitudefilms with a Z at gmail.com. And I can give you a few tips, hints, and secrets that I've used for different things. I'll tell you one route that I've used to get off of the codeine was Kratom. Kratom was a wonderful additive to that experience. I went halfway through the withdrawal, and then my wife was like, "Would you like me to get you some Kratom?" Because I used Kratom to get off of marijuana. So, guys, there's many different angles for resource and and for help. There's a
Or
lot of
or
people
even
out there.
or even
Go
if it's
ahead.
just somebody to talk to, if it's just somebody to talk to
Absolutely.
outside of your area, or something that you don't you know you don't feel comfortable talking to your family about, because it took me a long. My family's full of cops. You know how hard it was for me to identify as an addict to them when they knew already.
Right.
They already knew, but yet I was just so stubborn, and I was so angry, and I was just angry, and it was just like, I don't have an addiction. I don't have a problem. If you've done it once, you have an addiction and you have a problem, because what happens is that addiction will move on to something else, whether it's a relationship issue. I mean, love is a drug. um and again, people, like I said, like Tina didn't go rolling down the river because Ike was always with her. You know what I mean? And that's what they think was love, or that's what they grew up thinking was love. And
That's it.
again, it's not love.
No, and I was, when for me, and I understand and I understood and understand that addiction is a progressive thing, guys. It's a ramp, right? It starts out real low and it goes up high, or it starts out real high and goes low, depending on what kind of addict, alcoholic you are. Um, but let me tell you guys, to put it down is such an empowering thing. I put it down, and then let me tell you what. Each time I'm able to, because for a long time, guys, I couldn't watch a movie where someone, used
The
a
trigger.
needle in the movie. Yeah, it's a trigger, guys. For a long time, let me tell you what. For a long time, this color right here, that was very bothersome for me. Or this color right here. This was a trigger for me, guys, because I was an intravenous user, and this is the color of the syringe caps. And so there's really nothing else in the world that is this color. And when you see that, it automatically, when you've been in that fucking hole, you see something as easy as a color, and you're like, oh wow. And then all of a sudden you start feeling like, you either are on your way to the dope house, or you're on your way home from the dope house, or you're coming
Or
down, or
on your way to lying to get to that place, or starting a fight
that's
with your
it, guys.
girlfriend or wife. You know what I mean? You could
That's
start a
it,
fight
guys.
over your own sickness.
Yeah, my wife, I love her so much because other women in my life, when I was struggling with drugs, they could never identify that I was actually intoxicated or on something. In fact, a lot of them were grateful in their own ways because of the sexual intensity when I was on drugs, and they manipulated the situation to work for them for as long as they could until they're like, phew. But my wife, my wife, I relapsed one time before I got sober this time. And my wife, I tell you what, she called me. My wife knows if I'm intoxicated, or back then when I was intoxicated, she knows just by talking to me. And so she's a magnificent woman. Now, guys, again, when I pray, I always keep a foot forward for the addict or the alcoholic that still suffers, and I always will, because I'm an ordained help from God, servant of God, to try to help anyone manage an unmanageable addiction, guys. It's so sad. But I just
And
wanted to say one thing, man. I don't know what's up with the iPad. It's not charging. It's going down ever so slowly, and I'm at 5% right now, guys. So I don't know how much longer I'll be able to go.
yeah, well, you need to get your iPad some drugs then.
Yeah, I
You
need to
know,
put some speed in this iPad in some kind of way.
yeah, get it charging. But yeah, you have to laugh and you have to joke about stuff, because again, if you're always so serious, you can um, never get. I mean, like I said, laughter's the spice of life. You'll get to a different level if you could just laugh sometimes, or if you could look at what you did or how you were and laugh about it. But not everybody that hits rock bottom you can help. Like I said, you can give them a hug, you can tell them you love them, or you can offer them some help. But at the end of the day, if that person doesn't want to help themselves, you can't help them. Um, how do I say, help keeping their addiction alive, because then if something happens to them, then you help them die as well. So you
That's it,
can't,
guys.
some people live on the rocks. So
That's it. The world, I tell you what, guys, when I'm on drugs, I'm a master manipulator. Not only that, but I'll bust your head wide open to get what I want from you. And on the other side of that, I am exactly 180 of that. And let me tell you guys this. I heard this from a very great man. He said, you can only measure a man's heights by the depths of his lows. And that is a real testimony, because nasty is anyone that's ever been to rehab, have you ever seen the phenomenon of 30, 20, 30, 40 people of the nastiest type, but all in one place trying to get sober? And as soon as people commit themselves to walking away from the street and getting sober. It's a community of people in one place, all very, very courteous and very, very apologetic and very, very well mannered. Like every time I've been to rehab, everyone's yes, yes, sir, no, sir. Like it's amazing the effect that God has or spirituality has on the soul of the afflicted by the drugs. It's like immediately once you alleviate someone of the strain and the stress and being under the control and the watchful eye of addiction, they just flourish. And I tell you, one of the most heartbreaking things to me, because I helped in the heroin community for a long time, and pretty much in the heroin community, guys, when you're helping or you're involved, whether it's drug use or whatever, in that heroin community, it's nothing to lose a friend or a fellow drug user colleague. Kind of in that community, when you don't hear from a heroin user for a while, that's not always a good thing. That doesn't all automatically mean that they've rushed into NA or heroin or opiate anonymous to get clean. Sometimes, a lot of times, it means that they've OD'd and they've died. And so,
and they don't think that it's going to happen. They don't think it's going to happen to them because it happened to their friend. They think they're invincible because, that's the drug talking, and it's not the reality of things. Look at all the superstars and the pro wrestlers or the movie star, the person who gets off the stage. Like my uncle was James Brown, the black singer. Everybody's like, no way, because you're white.
Right.
Yeah. So was my aunt who married him. My aunt was, on Days of Our Lives as a makeup artist, and they met on American Bandstand. And what's sad is that once he comes off stage after being, James Brown, the Godfather of Soul, the one who started the moonwalk forward, and Michael Jackson turned it around backwards, and is somebody who gets off stage and doesn't have that feeling any longer, that high. And that's when my aunt was beaten and shot and stabbed by him, and he stabbed his pool guy because he went wacko. Like, it's a real thing. I mean, people struggle even with stardom. I mean, look at the people who are rich. They're just as poor as the next addict is because they're making that poor decision.
Unfortunately,
and it's not someone you want to look up to. It's not someone you want to look up to. And it's such a sad thing that it takes that drug to make you feel like you're normal when you don't know what normal feels like. When you can go to bed at 10 or 11 at night and wake up at 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning and go and work out or go for a jog or go for a walk and go to work or whatever the case may be. If you're doing something else to take up that time that you could be using, you're not going to use.
Right.
Do 8 hours a day of work and you're not going to use.
No. And you know what? If
surround yourself with people who are not using or ex-addicts who have a better, and that's not always preaching to each other, but it's just, that they're full of love and they're there for you. You know what I mean? Surround yourself with that.
Absolutely.
And the hate goes away. Sometimes we deal with it on YouTube, but guess what? That's not what happens when Benny and I shut off YouTube. We're at our baseball games with our kids, or he's at the zoo with his kids, or we're doing normal things. Just don't do normal things to find that happiness. And once you find out what normality feels like for what you're supposed to be normal as, meaning that you're not using, these drugs to feel normal. Like I told you, like I have never felt better in my life with my ADHD and my PTSD, because my ADHD went away almost to the fact where my PTSD is fixed from this medication, and it's not a stimulant. It's not an addictive drug. Half the time, I don't even want to take my trazodone, which is a very low dose to go to sleep, because I have nightmares. And again, dealing with all these cases that we deal with and seeing all the drug that are involved in the stuff behind doors that people don't understand, has helped me. Helped me not only help understand the cases, but helps me with my sobriety daily. Yeah. And sometimes I may get out of whack, or something in my life may trigger my ADHD, where you're like, oh, you're speaking faster, you're this or you're that. It's like, well, if you've ever lived a day in my shoes, then you could judge me, but I've never lived a day in your shoes, so I don't know what you're feeling. And it's important to respect that you don't know why this person has this addiction, but what you can do, like you said, is just be there for them and explain them how to find their faith. or what faith they do have, or what God they do have, or what higher power they do have. And once you know that it's not about you, it's about your family and your friends and your higher power, you get through that day a lot easier.
Yeah.
At least I do.
Guys, I've got 3%. I want to give everyone that's had their life affected by someone that's either active or made it through the struggling part of addiction. Reach out to them. Reach out to somebody you know that's suffering with an addiction, and just let them know that you're there, because that's all you can do anyways. Don't lie to them. Don't cloak. Don't cloak yourself as trying to help. Just say that you're there for them, and it's okay to set boundaries with people, guys. That's one of the main things that addicts have a problem with, is boundaries, guys. One of the greatest questions I get from people that are suffering actively is, the issue with the toxicity of mixing drugs, sex, art. I'm a musician by trade. I do video production, instrumentals. I do mixing and recording, mastering, the whole notch. And, when I'm on a performance enhancing stimulant, oh man, the music's better, the videos look greater, everything is just clicking.
But the next day is worse.
It's worse. Yeah, you either wake up or you come back to it and you're like, oh shit, what was I thinking? And so, a lot of the questions that I get is like, Benny, will sex ever be the same? And to be honest with you guys, if you wound up sex into your drug use and in the toxic part of your life or relationships, that is a very difficult thing to divorce yourself from. There's such a stigma. But yeah, guys, sex actually gets better than it was on drugs, because, there's confidence, there's respect, there's love, there's admiration, there's real God-given lust, and the good stuff that God wants to provide you when you make love with your partner. So, yes.
And we've got 55 people in here, which means we went up to 68 so far, and a lot of people shied away because maybe they don't want to face it, or this is not just for them to talk, to listen into. Sure. It's not their shtick right now. But we got 55 people in here now, 50 that have stuck around to, engage in showing that everybody does care, and we, and we can love the same, and you'd love differently once you don't love that drug or that alcoholic beverage. You love differently. And a lot of us are victims of whether you were beaten or you had, a rough relationship, or you lost your relationship due to a drug or alcohol. That could have been so different if you took steps to help yourself find out what love is, or find out what makes you better. And if that person that you're with doesn't make you a better person, just leave, go. You know what I mean? Don't turn to a drug. Don't turn to an alcoholic beverage. If it's not what you feel love is, then move on. That's the best thing I can say. And I don't know if you're going to die out here, Benny, but I appreciate all you guys, and I love all you guys. Whether you guys love or hate us, or love or hate me, or love or hate Benny, we love you guys no matter what. And we'll pray for you guys, and to your higher power. Look up to the sky tonight, whether it's God or a cloud or a star, and know that there's something better for you.
Yep. God has a plan, guys. He is infinity and zero. He has never lost a fight. He has never lost a race. He doesn't. What does S.M. Lockridge say? He doesn't have to author his name on the lapel of a river or a plane, because he owns it, guys. So guys, if you're suffering with an addiction, or someone that's suffering with an addiction, own up to it, and face your demon and whip him, because some of the brightest, most enthusiastic smiles I've ever seen on someone's face is someone that's 3 or 4 days in to the rest of their life at a rehab facility, guys. Recovery is a beautiful thing, guys. There's recovery from all sorts of addictions, whether it be
social media. It's a total gift.
Yeah, social media, pornography, gambling, shopping, they're eating. There's just everyday things that we do every day that love and enjoy that are completely and acceptably appropriate for us to engage in. Oftentimes, when done in excess, become a very, very critical detriment to us, guys. Yeah, I've got 2%, guys. So I've got to wrap it up. Doug, do you have anything you want to say in closing?
You know what? I didn't expect this. We were going to be talking about all the shootings of the world and all the things that are so negative and such bad, bad things that are going on. And I'm so happy that it turned into this, because it just made me that much better as a person today. Because again, I struggled just like you guys do. And I needed this in my life today. And thank you, Benny. And I thank all you guys. And I love you guys. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side with Benny all the time, because that's my bro. No matter how many people want to come in and try to make this relationship what it isn't, or try to take someone away. Again, we don't give up on each other, just like we don't give up on you guys. Whether you like us or not, we don't give up on you, because there's always hope for that next person. That's all I got to say.
Yep. I want to just take a moment and kick out some names for a few of you. Aussie, love you, gal. Always have, day one. Shaughnessy, thank you for becoming a member. Ruby Ray, thank you. Lisa Hogan, thank you. Vala Fitzpatrick, thank you. Again, Jennifer, I love you so much, sweetheart. Ruby Ray, G-Dog, Sherry McNabb, Southern Sass, Diane Olson. Who do we got here? Sharon M., Janet Condon. Who do we got here? IMSS. Just on and on and on, guys. I could go. Who me? Let me see here. Who do we got here? Cannabis Queen. Love you, sweetie. I see you around all the time. Love you, babe. Guys, Beagle Mama. Sharon M. Guys, I love all of you guys. And remember, the absence of evidence is what, guys?
Stop. Evidence of absence.
There you go, Dougie. Love you, bro.
Love you too, brother. And love you guys.
Love you.
Bye.